Hi all, welcome to Review Circles Part 2. Some of my formulas are already filled into the questions. Since it's the review, I would highly recommend you first trying it on your own and then go through with the video. Okay, so let's get started with number 1. It's giving us the equation of a circle and it's asking for the coordinates and the radius of the circle. Remember, whenever we talk about circles, this is the standard form of the equation of a circle. Now h and k represent the center. So what is my h? Here it is what? -4. It's always the opposite of the sign. You have to switch the sign. So it's -4, comma, -1. Remember, it is the x and the y. So h and k is h is the horizontal shift and k is the vertical shift. Now let's talk about our radius. Our r square here is this 64. So what's square root of 64? So r is square root of 64, which is 8. Okay. Number 2. It says a circle has a center of 2, -1 and the diameter has one end point. Remember, the diameters and points lie on the circle. We just know one end point. I plotted both of them and now it's asking me for the coordinates of the other end point. Okay, so if I was to connect this from the center to the point, would you agree that that's the radius, right? So my other end point, if I was to take a guess, it's going to be in this direction, somewhere in the opposite direction, right? We don't know exactly how much, but how can we find it out? If I find the slope of this section, would it be the same thing? So let's find the slope of this. What is it? How much down and I'm going? It is 4 and it is 3. So slope of radius. So let's write that down. Slope of the radius is 4/3 using our rise over run, right? So I'm going to do this, follow the same pattern, and I'm going to go 3 over and 4 down. So I went 3 over, 4 down, right? And where do I end? And that is my point, right? We did estimate it a little. That's going to be in the opposite direction. So it is -1, -5. You always write your x coordinate first and then your y. Okay, so let's go. Number 3. In this question, the diagram is already given to us and it's saying that OA and OB are the radii, and it's also giving us the measure of the angle AOB, which happens to be a central angle, right? Because the center is O and the radius is 4 inches. It's asking us to determine the area of the sector and leave in terms of pi. Okay, so what's the formula for area of sector? That's the formula. You have to memorize it. It's not given to you on the reference sheet. And when it says in terms of pi, please make sure you remember that. Do not put the pi in the calculator. Okay, so let's get started with the area of the circle. Area of sector. What is my area of sector? I'm going to substitute everything in, leave my pi out, and go from there. 120 over 360, and then times pi. My radius is 4 square. Leave the pi out and put this whole thing in the calculator. If you do not have a calculator, there's a link on my homepage. You should use that. Okay, area of sector. I know my final answer is going to be in terms of pi because I'm not going to put the pi in the calculator. If you put the rest of it into the calculator, you get, do not put it as a decimal, leave it as a fraction, 16/3. And it will be, since it's area, inches square. So that's your answer. Okay, number 4. It's again giving you the equation of a circle, and it's saying state the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius in simplest radical form. Means you don't need any decimals, right? So let's compare. This is in place of h, so h and k are our center, and that's in place of k. So what is it? So my h comma k are the center coordinates, My h is, you always switch the sign, so it's going to be -7, comma 2, right? And my center, or that's my center. My radius is, we know r square is 48. Take the square root. So you get what? R is equal to square root of 48. Okay, going back to how we simplify those, you need to look for the largest perfect square that goes into 48, which is what? I'm just going to do it here. Square root of 48. The largest perfect square that goes into it is 16 times 3. Okay? Square root of, since one of them has to be a perfect square, please make sure you understand that. So what's square root of 16? It is 4 rad 3. So your radius is 4 rad 3. Okay, how can you check? Put this in the calculator and put this in the calculator. You should get the same decimal answer. Okay, number 5, it says construct an equilateral triangle inscribed in a circle T shown below. I wrote the steps for you, and I'm going to read the steps and I'm going to do the construction along with it. So the first step, it says using the compass measure the radius. So I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to measure the radius from, I'm going to place my pointer of the circle over here and measure it, right? Number 2, it says plot a point anywhere on circumference of the circle. So I pick this point, right, on the circumference of the circle. So next it says number 3, with the pointer on the point make 6 arcs. So I'm just going to move the paper, slide the paper over. I'm going to go around, I'm going to place the pointer on the dot that I picked, and using the length of the radius, I'm going to make 6 arcs going around. I made the first arc. Now I'm going to place my pointer on this point and make the second arc. And I will be making a total of 6 arcs, and the 6th arc should end up, how do I know it's right? Should end up at my first point. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and look here, it ended up here, and now you're going to connect every alternate point. So I'm going to connect this one, and this one. So let's connect those. And that gives me my equilateral triangle. Make sure you mark all sides are congruent, right? And each angle is 60 degrees. Number 6. So again here, the diameter of the circle is given. Diameter is 10, so the radius is going to be what? 5. And a central angle of 30 degrees is given, right? It says determine the area. This is very similar to number 3 that we did. But it's telling us to round it to the nearest tenth. 10 has how many zeros? 1 0. So you're going to round to the nearest tenth, okay? And of the sector formed by the 30-degree angle. So the formula is given to us, and all we're going to do is substitute in. So let's start with that. It's going to be equal to, what is my central angle? 30 over 360 times pi. What's my radius? My radius was 5. Many people will make that mistake of using 10, so be very careful. So that is your area of sector, right? Put the whole thing into the calculator and you will get 6.54. That's your area of sector, right? We're not rounded it yet. We want to round it to the nearest decimal. So you do approximately. This is the number you look for, right? You want to round to the nearest tenth. You look for this number. If it's 5 or higher, you round up. Otherwise, you keep it. It's going to be 6.5 centimeters square.